World Cup game number 1 is today. It is France taking on Spain. If France wins, it's going to be their third straight World Cup final appearance, while for Spain, this would be their first World Cup final since 2010. That is their lone World Cup title. The other semifinal, that's going to be tomorrow at the same time. It'll be Argentina taking on England. In baseball, the Home Run Derby was last night. Tonight, it is the All-Star game between the NL and the AL. On the bump tonight, Dylan Cease of Toronto gets the start for the AL, while for the NL, it's Christopher Sanchez of Philly who gets the go. Game time tonight is at 8. ESPN is continuing their top 10 lists at each position in the NFL. Today it was off-ball linebackers. No Bills, though, make the top 10 or the honorable mentions. We are going to have 2 more lists. Wide receivers tomorrow, and then safeties. That's going to round it out on Thursday. Do stay tuned. We'll get some football talk with Sal Capaccio coming up at a little bit later on at 3:30. And then we do have a date for when the owners are going to be voting on the ownership transaction for the Seattle Seahawks pending the financial committee review. That vote date will be Wednesday, August 26th. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Maybe 3 minutes, I counted 8 Q-tips. It's got to be one person that just throws their Q-tips out the window when they're done using them in their cars.
It's Mike Schopp.
One person?
More than one person using Q-tips and throwing them outside?
I don't think I use 8 Q-tips in a year.
I think I've never used 8 Q-tips.
And the Bulldog.
What the hell is going on out there? I don't think I want to work in a place where people roll their windows down if they're using Q-tips for Lord knows what and just throw them on the ground.
Well, you do.
What, is it the 70s?
Oh, that's not very nice.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Driving on the highway 65 miles an hour. I get a little left in my soda from the fast food drive. Out the window. That was the 70s. Who gives an F about anything?
Throw a burrito out the window.
Nothing matters. 2025, what are you doing?
On WGR.
Throwing Q-tips out of your car.
Sports Radio 550.
I saw one. I don't see them here anymore. I don't know that we deserve credit, but I don't see them here anymore. The message got out. Cut it out. But I was in Delaware for the weekend, as I mentioned yesterday, at a lacrosse tournament. And I guess this is more just the law of averages, because I'm pretty sure 70% of the world's population was at this tournament. And so naturally you would see at least one Q-tip on the parking lot. And I took a picture of it and texted it to Bulldog. Look, it's not just where we work. Here's a Q-tip on the ground, just thrown out dropped out the window, whatever. Nobody cares about anything. So there's a Q-tip, and he enjoyed that. I would have tweeted it, but I'm just less and less interested in that over the years. It was right next to my car, next to a tire on my car. And if I tweet the picture of the Q-tip, I might get, oh, you need new tires, which I think I do. I tweeted a picture some months ago of my front view at home. Oh, you need to trim the hedges, or you need to, why bother? World Cup semifinals from Dallas, France and Spain. I have a financial interest in France. I think if I didn't, I would probably still be for France. I've been kind of a France guy in my life. But I'm telling you now, I reserve the right to react if there is a goal. If there is a goal in this game. But we are on this show. This host is officially on France. What about Sneaky Joe? He loves the World Cup. Sneaky Joe with me now to embark on some reverse AFC power rankings. Joe, what are your rooting interests in the rest of this tournament?
I mean, it's weird that we don't root for France as easily. We got the Statue of Liberty and the Revolutionary War. What else do you need to like France in this country?
That should be easier.
I find myself rooting for Messi and Argentina to go back to back. I never really would say I've been like a Messi guy. I mean, I like watching him and respect how good he's been forever, but something about just how amazing, breathtaking he's been at this tournament. I'm falling for them. It could be the jerseys, too, because I do like their jerseys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, other than Argentina, I would say France maybe best kits, best anthem,
Yeah.
And there's a lot to like there. But, yeah, you're right. We're not really we're not so keen on the French as a society for whatever reason. Easy to make fun of? I don't know. But,
I don't know why. We've always seemed to be on the same side as them.
Yeah, right. I'm in this this pool, Joe. I got to find out how many people are on Spain because it's a survivor pool and I'm still alive in it, and you can only use a team once. So let's see. I'll find out right now. There are 93 left. Well, there's actually 143 left, but 50 of those 143 are drawing dead because you need today, and then you need the final, and you have to be able to get through today, and they'll still have a team left on the other side. Right. 23 are on Spain, 43 are on France. I'm on France. I picked them. But I need England too to have a chance.
Do you know or have an idea of how many, if you get through this game, would be on England too? Like, what could it be down to for the final, I guess?
Yeah, I started to try to figure that out, but I gave up because it's not going to mean anything to me. Just sort of, it's a little bit more than I was willing to do. But I think the numbers could be similar tomorrow. England is favored tomorrow, which, not quite to the extent that France is. Neither is a massive favorite. But I think that's interesting that England is favored against Argentina. But
that could be. I mean, Argentina's kind of struggled in every game, right? Like, I mean, they've gone to extra time twice. They probably should have lost to Egypt, and that's probably all of it, isn't it? Like, they haven't really looked incredibly impressive maybe in any of their games. I mean, just by the score. I mean, a few of those games they would have the ball for 80% of the time. So in that way, I guess it's impressive. But
not Saturday.
They've had to go to the wire.
Not Saturday. Like, Switzerland was on them.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Saturday at the time of the red card. So, yeah, I think that's probably it. They have the refs.
They have that.
If you are
they
so,
have the match. They're the match fixing team this tournament.
Yeah, and just like when we sit down for a Bills playoff week, and we get the tweet from Warren Sharp about who the refs are going to be and what their record is. Home teams when whoever is the ref of Hockey League is the ref of this game, and like if I'm that ref. And I know those stats exist. I'm so focused on turning that the other way. Like I would never even. It's probably almost always, if not always, just a coincidence. But I would not want anybody thinking like branding me with I'm a home team guy, I'm a holding guy, whatever. Like, so I don't know if FIFA would be so inclined, but the last thing I would want is to have this game tomorrow look like Argentina was favored, by the officials after all that's happened. Well, I'm just sort of wishful thinking there from me. All right. Well, vive la France. We'll see what happens today. No score yet, 8th minute. All right, Joe. So you're up for the challenge of ranking these AFC football teams in reverse?
Yeah, I'm in. I was looking at the odds before, after you sent me the text earlier about today, and I have not to this point, after however many hours that's been, decided who I think the best team is.
Okay.
But I have a pretty good. The good news is we go in the other order, so I don't have to worry about that as much.
It lands on you who the number one team is sometimes. All right, here we go. Reverse AFC power rankings. Why not on a Tuesday afternoon? Powered by Empire Electric, your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit empireelectricians.com. Oh, what a moment. 16, Joe. Who for you is the worst team in the conference?
I think it is the Miami Dolphins. The roster is thin. The quarterback is fine. Maybe he's thrown 80 passes in the league. I guess he could be fine. But I think they probably want to be at the bottom as much as anybody, in addition to the roster looking pretty barren. I saw a stat on the amount of dead cap they have. This year, it's like something like 100. I think they have more dead cap this year than they have cap spent on players on the roster. So, Miami for me.
Miami has been in this slot for some weeks running. We haven't been doing this every week. Can you make a more optimistic argument for them than you just did? I mean, can you? Willis is maybe good.
Maybe.
And I mean, the skill position stuff, wide receiver-wise, they're probably at the bottom of the league. But they do have Achan, and you never know from defense. I'm not trying to fight back on this. I think I'll go Miami too, but it kind of seems almost unanimous lately with the Dolphins.
You know what they could be? They could be that season where the Jets were supposed to be like winless, and Todd Bowles had them winning 5 games and was being talked about like he was a savior. Was that like 7 years ago now? There was a Jets season like that where they were supposed to be the worst team that's ever existed, and then they won 5 games. It's like, oh, they're actually more competitive than we thought. Like maybe that's Miami. They get some luck, and the defense is middle of the pack, and they go 4-13 or whatever.
I mean, great plan, right?
Right.
Go pick 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a while ago. I mean, I think of Ryan Fitzpatrick being the quarterback the last time the Jets were any good. And they missed the playoffs losing here in the final game, meaning that they still have not made it since, it's longer than the Sabres drought, 2010.
Yeah. I was there. It was a weirdly exciting game, even though, there was nothing on the line.
That Jet game?
For our side.
Very windy, right? Very
windy. There's a McKelvin pick at halftime, I think.
I was at IKEA.
Okay.
I didn't pay the closest attention. Glad the season was ending. All right, 15. I want to say Tennessee. Tennessee has gotten a little bit more credit in these rankings than I think they're really due. I don't love the coaches. The quarterback was kind of all over the place. What did they added Carnell Tate. Okay. 3-14.
Yeah. Tyjae Spears did guarantee that they have a winning record this season. I don't think does that change your mind at all?
I didn't know that, but no.
I like the weapons enough. It's Tate, Ridley, and Wan'Dale Robinson. They paid him too, right?
Oh, yeah. What's that though?
Yeah, it's going to be 90 catches for 700 yards. I like the Dable hire for Cam Ward. I guess this comes down to whether you're a Cam Ward guy or not, and I'm guessing by the sound of your voice you are not a Cam Ward guy.
Not really. Or even, I've cooled on Dable too. I don't know. I think he's a little bit out of control. All right, who do you want?
I would not be on Tennessee here. I would be on Cleveland here.
Okay.
I think I'm more on Cleveland here.
Cleveland, 15. 14. My pick is in.
Yeah, you have to be. That's the rules.
Those are the rules, yep.
It would either be them or the Raiders for me here. And I'll say Titans.
Okay. Tennessee moves up in the reverse AFC power rankings from last time out, 2 spots. 13. You're Vegas?
Yeah, I'm Raiders.
Kind of want to be Pittsburgh here.
Ooh.
I will go Vegas. 12. I'm fine with Pittsburgh at 12. I don't like anything about it.
Yeah, no.
They find ways to get to the middle. That doesn't help.
Yeah. Well, Tomlin's gone now, so does that pixie dust wear off?
I kind of hope so.
Yeah, me too. I don't really – there's nothing – I'm looking at what they've done this offseason. There's nothing that really stands out as impressive to me. Like, is Michael Pittman – can he even make it through a season anymore? He's got back problems. Like, if your biggest move is you acquired a receiver with back problems this offseason, I don't know.
I've waited my whole life for a terrible Pittsburgh Steelers team. Let's go. There's never been one. There's never been one in my entire life. There's never been a Steelers team that was really bad.
There's no Cordell Stewart team in there that won 4 games or something?
No, they never win 4 games. They always win at least 8.
Yeah.
The when I was born, the Steelers were famous for being so bad. But that's then they have the 74 draft and it's a bunch of Hall of Famers. 5-11 in 1988. The Bills beat them that season. 6-10 in 1999. 6-10 another time. That's as bad as it ever gets. So
yeah, and it's a one-off, right? They're back immediately after that usually.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Pittsburgh at 12. 11.
This is a good little run here for the Jets, but doesn't it have to be the Jets next?
Yes.
I was going to say the Jets next. I was worried we maybe forgot them.
Yes.
I didn't forget them. I think they're a fantasy goldmine this year. They are a horrible defense, but they have, I think, a pass game, right? Don't they? Like, isn't Geno Smith going to throw for 4,500 yards this season?
I am totally in. I'm always in on them. But yes, Garrett Wilson, yes. The tight end rookie, Sadiq, yes. Omar Cooper, we'll talk about this on ADP chasing tonight, or at least we have. Like, here's a first-round pick wide receiver that goes in the 16th round of fantasy drafts.
Yeah.
The quarterback has thrown for yards in his career. Maybe the line's better. And then Breece Hall. So
right.
I'm in on the Jets as well. And it's all pretty cheap. Breece Hall, 3rd round. Wilson, 4th round, I think. Like,
yeah, I like Mitchell. I mean, Mitchell's going to be always the fancy stats guy. Like, he is the success versus man route percentage, like any number on, like, how good are you at getting open. I feel like I always see Mitchell ranking pretty highly.
Yeah. Speaking of Tonight Show, Davis Maddock loves Mitchell, but will not be on tonight. So somebody, maybe Joe, can just sort of get in the chat and make this case. 10.
Yep.
Colts.
Colts. If it's not the Colts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the Colts. Yeah, it's the Colts.
I think it is. Tier break. 9.
I will be on Houston here.
Interesting. Yeah, this is tough. That's why it had to be in Indianapolis at 10.
I just think all their problems are going to be the same. Like, they're not going to be able to block. Stroud's probably not going to do well with that. And do they really do much else on offense? I mean, everyone knows the defense is amazing. It's just, I don't know if that offense is going to be able to keep up.
Give me New England.
Wow. Team makes the Super Bowl, adds A.J. Brown. 9.
I don't know what my problem is with New England. For many years, it was everybody else's problem. Now it's my problem. Just not. I just can't give you my vote.
I'll go Houston here.
Okay. 8.
Okay. And I don't know that I'm going to be with you on New England for a minute here.
A.J. Brown plays 6 games.
Oh, wow.
Oh. Over. Is that bad? Is there room on that board over there? We need to find an eraser.
How dare you? Is there room? There's a eraser sitting right there. How dare you?
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We tried.
What do you mean you tried?
We need like one of those spray erasers for that thing.
Well, you have the spray too. You're telling me if I went over there and sprayed and erased, it wouldn't erase? I just did this like a week ago.
I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I think we need a brand new whiteboard.
You guys have bets up for who will the Bills play in their home opener in the new stadium? That's 3 years ago. Will Caleb Williams be benched last year? That's dead. Will Sean McDermott have a bottom 10 deep? Well, I mean, you guys, this is your problem.
That one's still live.
It is? In case where he coaches somewhere else?
Yeah, he's going to coach the Jets next year, and then if he's bottom 10, I get paid.
I dragged the Tannehill bet into the 2020s, so fair
No,
enough.
yeah, there needs to be. You're right. There needs to be a cleanup on that thing
8
before the season starts.
8. I'm New England.
I'll go
Chargers.
Denver.
Oof. Chargers and Denver.
Okay.
Denver.
Enough with Sean Payton. I mean, they're not that different to me than New England last year. Like, I don't know that they're just going to repeat what they did again. And if Kansas City's better, then I think that'll only be harder for them. I think the division is really strong.
All right, I'll move in here.
Really, for me, it comes down to the quarterback. Like, he's one of the least efficient quarterbacks ever that's thrown the ball as much as he did. And that season he just had.
You know, you're the guest today, and I will defer to you. I don't really want to. I feel like Denver could be number 1. But for the time being, we'll put them at number 8. It is interesting, though. I'll talk about it a lot today unless something big happens. Just like sort of how to file the top of the AFC, or in our case, I guess the bottom. 7, L.A., New England. Pick one.
I will pick Chargers. I mean, how many years in a row can I believe in them and get let down? Chargers.
Obviously, you do watch the games. You did see that playoff game between these two teams.
Yeah. No, I did. I mean, but I love McDaniel being there, but not enough to pick them over New England here.
Okay. 6, Patriots, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, Jaguars, Broncos. No, not Broncos. Chiefs. Look at the Chiefs.
I'd be on the Chiefs here.
Last time they were 9. Chiefs at 6, fine. 5. I'm still New England.
I'm fine with New England here.
What can I say? Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm good. I'm good with New England here.
4, Baltimore, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Cincinnati.
I have a bet on Jacksonville, and there's really nothing I feel like I've seen that is that bad by them this offseason. But whenever I see one of these sites do either offseason grades or whatever, like they're always like at the bottom. Is that just because blocking tight end in the second round?
It was the draft value. Yeah, they got hammered for a week afterwards. The draft the value of it was disastrous.
Can Travis Hunter please be allowed to play offense?
Please.
I know.
All right, Jags at 4. Is that the call?
We're getting to the end of their time. Yeah, like actual football is starting.
I'll go Jags.
Knocked out. We have a penalty coming for Spain, by the way.
Yeah.
Knocked out of the first spot for the first time in maybe a couple months at least. Jacksonville. Bulldog not here to rally the troops on Jacksonville. What happened on this play? Were you watching?
It was like edge of the box, and I think it was just like a kick. The French defender went for the ball, missed, kicked him maybe in the bottom of the leg. It didn't look that harsh, but it was in the box. So
now it's in the net. Not what you want against Spain.
No.
Even if you're France, this team gave up only its first goal of the tournament in the last game, right?
Yep.
They do not get scored on. So now it's interesting. I mean, it already was. Spain 1, France 0, 23rd minute. All right, final 3. Who do you have here at 3? Bills, Ravens, Bengals. What a moment for Cincinnati. Oh, my God. I mean, 6-11.
Give the Bills.
I'll go Cincinnati here.
Wow. I'm still wowing at that France is down. Cincinnati has to be. I can't not pick the Bengals here. 2, Joe's on the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore. Another team with a losing record last season.
I'm good with Baltimore here.
Bills 1.
Bills 1.
Look at you, Joe. Look what you did.
I got the Bills. I came to the show, and I got the Bills up to number 1, even though I did not vote for them down the stretch.
Look what you did.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, anything you want to...
Bulletin board material by picking them 3rd. It got them up to number 1.
Yes. Anything you want to promote? What are you working on these days? As a guest of our show, we want to be sure to ask you that.
You should tune into World Cup of Joe every day on the show, which is fun, and we've only got a couple more days of that on the morning show. Just spitting out facts on all these countries, and then they have to guess which country it's about.
Oh, I love that idea.
That's been fun. Locked on Sabres, we're hitting the dry season, but we'll probably talk Connor Hellebuck again a couple of times this week.
Sure. Why not?
Otherwise,
I mean,
that's the thing. That's the thing right now. So
we're both sort of sounding like, whatever you can get for content, but I think we both think it's very possible that they really do that.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, the Winnipeg reporter McIntyre the other day saying it's 95% chance he's traded, and I'm waiting for the other team that makes sense. Like, someone give me another team that's going to go pay that price. Most teams have made their goalie moves.
You mentioned San Jose yesterday, I know, but right.
Yeah, San Jose, the Devils haven't, but that's kind of it. They're Edmonton made their move, Toronto made their move. Most of these teams have already made their move in net.
Joe, thanks for working double today.
Yeah, of course.
Sneaky Joe, reverse AFC power rankings on WGR, powered by Empire Electric, your residential neighborhood electrician. Visit empireelectricians.com. I'll put Sal to the test next, ranking the top of the AFC. And more with Sal Capaccio after a break. Cody Tapp will join me at 4 from Kansas City. He's Alex Gold's co-host. He might like that phrase the other way around, but we have Alex on a lot, and we have Cody today. And then we'll figure out the rest. Thanks for listening. I'm Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off this week. This is WGR.
For more comfort.
Now's the perfect time to make yourself comfortable with a new electric heating and cooling system from Belknap.
In Western New York, summer and winter bring extreme temperature conditions. Make yourself comfortable with Mitsubishi electric heat pumps, designed to keep your home cool in the summer and warm in the winter, no matter how hot or cold it gets outside. Call Belknap today to learn more.
I'm Gary Gorfel, president of Belknap. We work on your schedule. We don't charge more for weekends and evenings. That's why we say,
Give Belknap a ring.
The Bills at number 1. It is list season, right? The Bills at number 1 in the reverse AFC power rankings just before. When there isn't any news, make some. How about that? Sal Capaccio with me now on the Western Hotline. Bulldog is off. This is Mike Schopp. And Sal, I'm told, has a question for me. Let's put it that way.
I do. And it relates to what you're talking about. It's incredible that you're talking about this today, and you said before the break you're going to ask me about, is it the Bills, top of the AFC? Matt Bovey and I just recorded an Always Game Day in Buffalo podcast. I'm not kidding. I just uploaded it within the half hour. And we had Jeremy Kahn on from Baltimore, who you've had on, and this was the topic. Are the Bills and the Ravens the best two teams in the AFC?
Amazing.
And we kind of went through all of this a little bit, and I said, look, he does a gambling podcast, Jeremy, as you know. Like, they are the two favorites. Is that justified? And he said, yes, he thinks so. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having the Bills number 1. I don't think there's anything wrong with having them 2 or 3. I think after that, it gets a little dicey. They should be near the top, if not at the top. I don't think it's anything that's controversial. The AFC is very, very, I think, wide open with a select number of teams, and it's really the teams that have the best quarterbacks, and that's the Bills, the Ravens, the Bengals. I think, of course, the Chiefs, if Patrick Mahomes, is able to play. Beyond that, there's some question marks, right? C.J. Stroud, we know that their roster is very good. I agree with you. Denver is very, very good. But what about the quarterback? I think that's a good question. Can the Patriots, get back to what they were? Anyway, we're going through this, Mike, and I asked Jeremy about Derrick Henry, and then I went and looked. And here's my question for you. This is amazing to me. Derrick Henry is the active leader in rushing attempts. He has 2,662. Who's number 2? And about how many do you think? He has over 2,600, and he's number 1 of active rushing leaders.
Oh, boy. This won't be easy for me. Thinking about, there's somebody maybe just hanging on. Is it somebody that, where does this player get better than that?
Yeah, better than that, I would say, because the hangers on are 4 and 5. Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara.
How about James Conner?
No, he's down in the 1,300 area. He's number 11.
Who else am I never drafting? Whoever this is somebody I'm never drafting. Kareem Hunt. Is he still active?
Yes, he is. He's tied. He's literally tied with James Conner. I'm not kidding you.
Is that right?
93.
I'm really honed in on 11th place.
You are.
On this list.
There are 2 really good running backs near the top of the list that you know of.
McCaffrey, Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs is number 2.
Okay.
Josh Jacobs is number 2 in active rushing attempts. What's amazing is Henry has 2,662. Number 2 has 1,840.
Wow.
800 less.
I had from our conversation yesterday, I had the page open with the rushing touchdown leaders all time, and Henry is 4th. And he's, I think, 1 away from 3rd, Marcus Allen. So he'll, barring some big injury, he'll easily get into the top 3 this year. Okay. Yeah, Jacobs, I just never – I mean, I don't know what my problem is. Somebody tells me that X running back is inefficient, and that's always been Jacobs. He had 1 big year for the Raiders, but, efficiency-wise, now we had this with Henry. We have this with McCaffrey now. We have this with a lot of the players we like. And, you guys don't realize that actually they were not that efficient, just volume. Well, volume is king in fantasy. And really, I mean, it's not that nothing else matters, but I need to be more focused on that.
Number 3 on this list is Saquon Barkley. And, I mean, he obviously had a monster year 2 years ago, over 2,000 yards. But, Mike, I'm looking at his page. Outside of that year, he sandwiched. So 24, he has 2,005 yards. Mm-hmm. But in 23 and 25, 3.9 and 4.1 yards per attempt.
Right. Yeah, and he missed a year, didn't he? I mean, he's missed time with the Giants where he could be higher on this list, but that's also part of the equation when it comes to running backs. Well, Barkley, again, not to make it about fantasy, but Barkley is mid-second round. So is Chase Brown. So is Omarion Hampton. So sometimes is Achane. So sometimes is Genty. So is Kenneth Walker. Cook is higher. I mean, Genty and Cook are close. But Walker, Hampton, Brown, and Barkley are kind of together. And Barkley is last for me on that list, simply because of the mileage. So, well, who would be, if you did your own, and you're just off of doing this maybe, this has happened a bunch of times, by the way. Often Sal will come on and be like, we just talked about this on my podcast. So that's funny. And, probably flatters each of us because, you're thinking a certain way. Who would be number one for you in the AFC? Because I think Denver is really interesting for what's already been said here. Because, listen to Mina Kimes, right? Like, everybody loves Denver's team. Is Nix Allen or even May or Mahomes or Jackson or Burrow? Like, no. But maybe what was last year then for Denver? Like, he was good enough to get the 1 seed.
I think Denver has the best roster outside of quarterback in the AFC. But the quarterback's a big deal. It's the most important position. And there are questions about how, he needs to carry that team at times. And he's had some great moments. But he's also had some moments where you're like, yeah, but, that's not really the kind of guy that you can lean on when things go tough. So I'd be tempted to put Denver number one. I mean, they went 14-3 last year, right? I mean, they and New England, right, had very, very good seasons, and they were a really good coach. They have an excellent roster. I'd be tempted to put them number one. I would have a hard time putting the Bills, I think, anywhere below 2, but maybe 3, I guess 2 or 3, because you could make an argument for Baltimore. It would really depend on what you think about Lamar staying healthy, because he's an excellent football player. He's just got to stay healthy, and he's missed some time here and there, games here, games there. Now, Jeremy Kahn, who you've had on and we just had on the podcast today, he really, really raved about, like, the coaching changes. He wanted Harbaugh gone, and he believes that Jesse Minter is a guy that's going to do really well with this roster. And he pointed to OFA, I can't remember how you say his name, the player they traded last year from Baltimore to the Rams, and like he went from doing kind of nothing with the Ravens to becoming a guy who got to the passer. Like, okay, this guy can unlock what you need to unlock on defense, and oh, by the way, you're gonna have a Ben Johnson type offense with Lamar Jackson running it, so it just looks like the parts are there for him, and I can respect that. So I think Bills and Ravens and Broncos kind of put him in the Yahtzee cup and roll the dice.
Okay. What about the Chargers? What's the AFC West? What would your predicted order of finish be in the AFC West?
I'd have to know about Mahomes' injury. I mean, are we really thinking he's going to be healthy from day one, from week one?
I am, but I don't know.
Okay. I think then I would probably put them number 2 behind Denver. I like Denver better because I just don't know if Kansas City has quite the horsepower. Now, I mean, Kenneth Walker's a really nice ad for them, right? I really like that a lot. But, man, the receivers, there are some questions. They have lost some stuff on defense. And, I mean, even if Mahomes is, quote-unquote, healthy, you wonder about that. And then I think the Chargers are just this team. I was thinking about this today when you and Joe were going through the exercise, and I was listening, and Joe's like, when am I going to stop believing in the Chargers? That's kind of all of us, right? And it just feels to me like, I know this isn't actually the right way to put it. Almost like the Chargers are just happy to be there, right? Yeah, we're in the conversation. We should be good. Yeah, we're not really that good. Or we're not as good as everybody thought. And it just fizzles all the time. And I guess I'm just going to start thinking that that's the case until they prove me otherwise.
Yeah, that's probably been sort of the opposite of my running back fantasy point. I'll be ready to lose whenever it is that I lose, but I'm going to stay here until I get beat. And that's sort of betting against LA, or, in the opposite of what I do in fantasy is bet against old running backs. And, sometimes it's actually correct.
I do like Cincinnati and I do like Houston for like a lot of what they bring to the table, but each of them have their own question. And Cincinnati's just defense, right? If they're going to win a lot of high scoring games, but they did improve. I mean, Dexter Lawrence is going to help them. The quarterback health is a big deal.
My prediction is not exactly to that question, that we're going to have the same conversations and frustrations this year in terms of the Bills and the 1 seed. Because the AFC North, whether Baltimore or Cincinnati, whoever's better, they're both schedule-wise very well positioned to roll. And that's if Pittsburgh and Cleveland are down, especially, if Pittsburgh is down, because that's 4 of their games, of course, those 2 teams for each, example. But They have the AFC South and they have the NFC South, and that's the jackpot. And the Bills playing the schedule they play, I mean, they'll do well. We've talked about this. They'll do well to get out of the first 5 weeks 3-2.
Yep.
You know?
That's right.
And it feels like every year is the same, whether it's Kansas City or Denver or New England or Baltimore the one year where they dominated the conference. We just can't seem to be able to reach out and touch the one seed. And if the Steelers are good, and if, like, say, Jacksonville is good and maybe Atlanta or Tampa is good, you know, then that will change this equation. But otherwise, I think, especially if one or the other of Baltimore and Cincinnati isn't that good. Cincinnati is favored in the preseason lines in 15 games. The Bengals, 15 out of 17 games. Right now, you can bet them all. They're favored in 15 games. Like, they were 6-11. So it might be another one of these years where, like Denver last year and New England with their schedule, just make it very tough for the Bills to come out on top.
Yeah, it's actually one thing that when we were looking at the Ravens' schedule, I pulled it up when Jeremy was on the air, and I'm like, oh, let me just kind of go over the schedule with them. And then I'm looking and going, wait a minute, like, they're kind of, like, they don't really have these tests until the middle of the year. And they start off Colts, Saints, Cowboys, who, you know, are respectable, I think, but Titans, Falcons, Browns, and then it goes Bengals, Bills, Jags, Chargers, right? That's the meat of their schedule of, you know, okay. And I think that's where we landed. Even Jeremy said it, like, yeah, I think by then, like, they have a good chance to get off to a good start. And then by then you're kind of going to start to feel, you know, who they are basically. But their middle's a little tougher, but you're right, Mike. Like, there's opportunity there for these teams in the AFC Central. This
time of year, we're writing our articles and making sort of the broader predictions. And some such article might be, maybe this has already been done. It probably has. Bill Barnwell, I think of for this kind of thing. Like, what is every team's big question? You know, like, what is it about the Bills that would be the big thing that's going to tip the scales one way or another? Do you have an answer ready for that?
For the Bills?
Yes.
I think it's the coaching changes. And that includes the head coach as a head coach, even though we know the offense shouldn't change much. But I think the defense, like, do they have the big question is, and we can pick apart a position. We could talk about receiver, we could talk about, you know, third corner, whatever, linebacker. I think the big looming question for me is, does Jim Leonard have the parts and the pieces he needs to do what he wants to do on defense? Or are they just kind of, let's just hope it all works out and Josh Allen can outscore everybody?
Yeah, you know, I feel like that's right. I just am always kind of reticent to pointing to defense. If you're writing one of these columns, you can't just never mention defense. So, yes, there will be some teams where you would need to do that. I have a tough time with this with them, Sal, because I think, and I don't mean this as a cop-out, we can come up with all kinds of different things to talk about here, but I think that probably, like it's been for a few years running, it's a good enough team to get to that spot in the postseason, and then what happens when they're in that spot. Mm-hmm. And that's really tough to, so to speak, game plan for out here. It's really tough on Brandon Beane, you know? Like, what exactly do they need to be different at that, you know, hasn't been what they needed before? And we talk about pass rush for this in the playoffs, and they couldn't get Bo Nix to the ground. We talk about receivers all the time for this. You know, you can only do so much. Not that I'm here to compliment Beane on his, you know, master plan at receiver, but it's really a micro point, I think, that this time you got to hope that if they're good enough to make it to the second round again or farther, like they've done every year for years running, that's still amazing to say, by the way, but it's true. Can they make the play and win the game when it comes down to that? They did that in Jacksonville, to their credit. I mean, that's the Bills' first road win since 1992.
Yeah,
so at least they did that, but they put themselves in a spot by having to go on the road in the first round in that case.
No, that's right. I you know me, I've said this a few times. I'm going to continue to believe this. I think you're going to get more big plays and give up more big plays on defense. It's going to be a more of a risk-reward type of defense, but I also think they're going to intentionally live life like that on offense. And you're going to see spikes in numbers, I think, from Josh Allen. I think passing touchdown, probably touchdowns, maybe interceptions, like things that you like and things you don't like, and they're going to go up because I think they're going to want to be more aggressive because the head coach wants to be more aggressive, and because they might feel they have to be more aggressive because they're playing a tougher schedule and they can't just say to everybody, we're just going to make you drive 10 minutes every time you get the ball and make a mistake, and they're going to give up a few big plays here and there.
Right. Will you watch the All-Star game?
Yeah, I will when we get home tonight. We have playoff baseball tonight.
Oh, you already had an All-Star game then. You already had
Did you see the controversy of the home run derby last night?
No. I sat down to watch it. It's Netflix, of course, right?
Yes.
So you got to pay your $20 a month to watch the home run derby now. I sat down. Sal, you don't have to respect this. I find the home run derby really boring.
Yeah, it used to be more fun than it is for me now too. But apparently, what happened was, and I did see this. Conspiracy theory A. Netflix actually put on the screen before the semifinals Jordan Walker, and underneath his name put 2026 home run derby champion. That did happen, right? And then he won it. Number two, they have these balls they were using at the very end, and there were certain balls that gave you a chance to. They had red striping on them.
Yep.
So if you get one swing left, you hit it out, you get another. You hit it out, you get another. And he was down. He kept hitting it, but then the person throwing him the batting practice actually twice threw him a regular white ball, and apparently people are like, well, you're not supposed to do that, and those white balls, you can see them better. So, yeah, there's some controversy in the home run derby.
Oh, well, enjoy that out there if you're into that.
Yeah.
I do like, as a fantasy player, I really have enjoyed Jordan Walker's ascent this year, though. Like, that was a very, very high prospect who couldn't hit for 3 years maybe, and then St. Louis hung in there. They don't have a great team, and he has really been a great story this year. So I was happy to hear that he won, but I couldn't watch it. I don't know. I didn't get past Contreras. Contreras was hitting home run after home run. I'm like, why am I watching this? Why?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could really build a good argument, but I just don't really like it. Okay, I'd rather watch this soccer game. All right. Thank you for your time, Sal. We'll talk again, I guess, on Thursday maybe.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks.
Okay. Sal Capaccio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances brought to you by Outlet Liquor. Your place, the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? I'm Mike Schopp. Cody Tapp, Kansas City, coming up at 4. More on the AFC. Get into some Sabres as well. This is WGR. Only a few seconds here, then we'll have to break again. Talk to Cody Tapp in Kansas City at the top of the hour. Just almost like I'm right there right now, and setting anything up seems pointless here. So thanks to Sal for a little bit extra time. On the Chiefs and the AFC with Cody Tapp. After a break, I'm Mike Schopp. This is WGR.
Going to be coming out of halftime here in just the next couple of minutes as the first semifinal matchup in the World Cup is underway between Spain and France, and Spain does lead that game 1-0. And if they can hold on, Spain would make their first World Cup final since 2010, the year they also won their lone World Cup title. And then France, they are chasing a third straight World Cup final appearance. The other semifinal, that is going to be tomorrow afternoon, same time at 3 o'clock. That'll be between Argentina and England. To baseball, the Home Run Derby was last night. Tonight, we have the All-Star game between the NL and the AL. Dylan Cease of Toronto gets to start on the bump for the American League, while for the National League, it's going to be Christopher Sanchez of Philly who gets the go. Game time tonight is at 8. And then over in football, ESPN does continue their top 10 lists at each position. Today it was off-ball linebackers. No Bills make the top 10 or honorable mentions, and we do have 2 more lists before that is wrapped up. Wide receivers tomorrow, and then safeties. That's going to round it out on Thursday. And then we do have a date for when owners are going to be voting on the ownership transition for the Seattle Seahawks, pending the financial committee review. That vote date is going to be Wednesday, August 26th. The group led by Vinod Khosla are the party attempting to buy the Seahawks. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for West New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp.
You might be mocking me or you might be staunchly agreeing with me. I can't tell.
I'm mocking you.
And the Bulldog
What is Fozzie Bear's role in this production?
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
No Bulldog this week. I'm Mike Schopp. Thanks for listening. Cody in gold in Kansas City. No gold this week. He's in, Alex is somewhere in the tropics, which gives Cody Tapp and myself a chance, finally, Cody, for the first time, to speak freely about Alex without him around.
You know what? The hardest working members of our respective shows actually working All-Star Week, not just taking off and just being somewhere else for a minute. He's in Punta Cana is where he actually is. So Alex is enjoying as much sunlight as he can get.
Where is that, Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. But other than that, I don't know anything about his trip other than he'll be by the beach at some all-inclusive resort for the next few days.
In fairness to Bulldog and Alex, I suppose, I took last week off, and I went to Delaware. So I don't know. I mean, I didn't see any palm trees, but it was hot.
No. Yeah, Delaware doesn't seem as – that seems like did you go for was there a specific city you were going for, or is this
there was a specific lacrosse tournament that my son played in that I went for.
There it is. See, it's different. We get the parent obligation. I had to go to Texas and I missed the show for a week, but I had to go sit at a dance comp. That's not as good as vacation by a beach.
Oh, let me write this down. I'm just going to recommend it. I'm not sure it'll get anywhere. Let's have more lacrosse tournaments in Mexico at Mexican resorts in the future, as my son is about to age out. We'll leave that for the next generation.
Perfect. Help somebody out. Help someone out after this turn,
Cody, before we get into some Chief stuff and the AFC, I don't know if you were or are a soccer fan, but I'm curious to know what the World Cup experience has been like in Kansas City.
So I'm a casual is what I would call it, although I've gone to Sporting KC games here locally and KC Current games here. But I don't watch the EPL every weekend. It's not that I haven't seen matches, but it's not something I watch close. It's been great. Honestly, part of it is that it has been a very, very good showcase for Kansas City. We happen to think locally that we've been the best at hosting because when you look at the viewership numbers and the attendance numbers, especially based on market size, it's been great. But really, the city's buzzed for a huge chunk of it. And that might be because we had 4 teams stay here, 2 of which are still playing. England, who says they're going to stay if they advance up until the championship match. So
really,
it's been very cool and very different.
So England will, if they win in Atlanta, they'll go back to Kansas City for a couple days?
Yep. They'll stay training here over in the Prairie Village area, which is like a suburb here in Kansas City.
Wow.
I think they're planning on staying. Argentina's going to go back. Messi sent out the tweet and said thanks to the city and all that stuff. But it's just been kind of different. And people ran into Jude Bellingham at a local ice cream shop yesterday. And so those kinds of things are just not going to happen in your city very often. And as you know, depending on the market size, LA, New York, Dallas, Atlanta, Boston, these places are going to get stuff like this all the time. Kansas City was the smallest market by a wide margin. So I think we try to take a lot of pride in it. It's been very cool, I think, and everyone's just been way more locked into the World Cup because of it.
Well, everything I've seen on television and heard, and also from what you're saying, has been positive. Here's some of these announcers, some of them from the UK, just marvel at the stadiums they're in, like L.A. I've never seen a place like this. Dallas, I mean, this is the nicest stadium I've ever seen. But on Saturday night, Argentina, Swiss, Kansas City got its flowers from the broadcast as well. Like, this is a great – it sort of stands out as what they call an outdoor stadium in this tournament somewhat, with Dallas and Atlanta and maybe another place playing indoors. So how did Kansas City, if you know, sort of get to this point where they earned the kind of status where they would get games and be such a home run in this event?
So largely it's because they have done a really, really good job of marketing themselves as a soccer city.
Okay.
It did not hurt that just a few years ago we built the first ever in the world soccer stadium dedicated only to a women's soccer team. Okay, great. That makes you look good. Sporting KC's had a lot of support. But if you remember, and probably you don't because you're not from the city, so we notice it more. Go back to 4 years ago World Cup and 4 years ago after that and 4 years before that. It's like they always show downtown Kansas City and the Power and Light District and soccer being consumed in this really big way. But there's also, like, we have a whole podcast out actually on the Odyssey app on it from one of the producers at our station, Rob Brenton, and another host. And so they kind of gave the behind the scenes, but some of it is just like we had an excellent brand as being a great soccer city and would host it. But just to meet the requirements of FIFA, like hotels and all that stuff, we had to claim that the soccer size was like, it went, 45, like Lawrence, which is where one of the teams stayed. It went north like an hour, south like an hour, just to like meet hotel requirements. So it was very much like a regional offer, I guess, if that makes sense. But I think it's largely because we branded ourselves well as like a soccer city.
That would make sense. I didn't know of this women's soccer-only stadium in Kansas City, but I have, in my defense, broadcast several games, soccer games even, from Kemper Arena.
Oh, the old Kemper. My first concert ever was at Kemper. It still exists, by the way. It's like a youth sports complex or like a multi-sports complex. They just changed it up a little bit. But the KC Current Stadium, if you're in town, it's awesome, and they're changing kind of like the whole development around there. They just went from 12,000 seats, and they just got approval to go to up to 18 because we're trying to make a bid to host a Women's World Cup matches coming up in what will likely be in the United States and a few other countries in 2031.
Interesting.
So if you get a chance in Kansas City, it's riverfront, and they're doing a bunch of development down there. So it's a cool spot, or it's becoming more cool, which is an area that really was never developed in Kansas City before.
Do you happen to know remember the name of the indoor team? The Kansas City, I don't remember right
that
now.
was the Comets.
The Comets, okay. Yeah, the Buffalo Blizzard and the Kansas City Comets throughout the record books.
The Buffalo Blizzard and the Kansas City Comets doing battle at Kemper Arena.
I was there. We did games in Wichita. They were in that same division, in that same league. So that's a lot of my Kansas and Missouri experience. Cody Tapp on the West Her Hotline. I'm Mike Schopp. Thanks for listening. So DraftKings, Cody, AFC West. Kansas City plus 160. LA Chargers plus 190. Denver plus 225. The 14-3 division champions. Does that line up for you the way you would line it up?
I would line up Denver ahead of the Chargers still. I don't have any problem with Kansas City being the favorite, despite the fact they only won 6 games. I think they would have won more like 8 had Mahomes stayed healthy. I'm not delusional. I don't think they would have won out or anything. They weren't playing good football and weren't a particularly good team for a majority of last year. But making them the favorite, knowing that they won it all the years before, and just the likelihood of turning it around still feels sharp for Kansas City. But the Denver hate on the other end versus even like San Diego, I don't get. It's either misplaced and too much in Mike McDaniel, the fact that on paper people still probably just like Herbert better than Nix, but the Chargers have like very serious questions. They don't have regular guard play. They don't have wide receivers that I trust. Like, defensively they weren't nearly as good last year. So I would have Chiefs 1, Denver 3, Chargers, or Denver 2, Chargers 3. But I also think it's going to be a very close division. It might be closer than even your guys' division between the Patriots and the Bills because of 3 teams who can legitimately win it. I just think the Chargers are the worst.
Okay. Yeah, the thing about the AFC East, again, just on paper and using the betting markets as some guide here, is it's 2 teams and not 3. I think maybe the AFC North could be this. AFC North could be either, I suppose, if Pittsburgh is still Pittsburgh. And then the South is probably 2 teams, but the AFC East looks like it has 2 maybe really bad teams. And we'll see if the Bills and Patriots either can do enough about that to get to the 1 seed, which has been both, well, New England is new to this, but Cody, both teams' problem. It's been the Bills' problem. And, it's been very costly chasing Kansas City a couple of years ago where all those, is it 3 years ago now? All those 1-score, maybe 2. All those 1-score wins. Yeah, okay. And then last year it went completely the other way. And you had New England with their schedule last year. So, yeah. How about with the Chiefs? You talk about questions in terms of LA's receiving core. What about Kansas City's at this point? How well do you trust what they have?
It's still bottom third in the league. I think I'd be kind of delusional if I said something outside of that. It just depends. Rashee Rice, his pace over his last 16 games is that of a 1,200-yard wide receiver. You might have noticed Rashee Rice has not played 16 consecutive games, and that those 16 games are spread out over like a 2+ season stretch. And so I have faith that when he plays, he's usually very capable of causing problems for defenses. I don't have a lot of faith he can stay out of trouble most of the time, but part of me says that he can keep it clean for a year this time. And the league has already said they're not going to suspend him at the beginning of the season for his parole violation and the 30 days he had to spend in jail. So they're pretty good there. Worthy is an unknown. He can get better, but I'm not confident he'll get better. And then you get down to Tyquan. The problem is their depth's no good. They actually need Worthy to be better in order to have a top 15 or 16 wide receiver unit. Otherwise, they're just relying on throwing a lot to Rice and probably still a decent amount to Kelsey. So it's not the best wide receiver unit, but we're obviously in Kansas City thinking it'll be helped by actually having a running game for the first time in 5 years.
And I want to get to that. Cody Tapp is my guest, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, co-host with Alex Gold, who has been on the show a number of times. So let's stay on Worthy for a minute. In Buffalo, and you and I have talked about this on your show, I think, since that trade. The Chiefs trade up a couple of years ago to draft Xavier Worthy. The Bills trade down, then again trade down, end up with Keon Coleman. There's a faction in this fan base who resented that from the beginning. That with all the headaches the Chiefs have, forced on the Bills, why are we taking their calls? And then Worthy, at the end of the season, he had the big Super Bowl, eventually in that game. He mattered against the Bills in the AFC Championship that year as well. But what is he at this point? Coleman, I think a lot of Bills fans, Cody, have already written off Coleman. Are Chiefs fans ready to do that?
No, they're not ready to write off Worthy yet, no. I think there's still a lot of hidden hope with a guy like that. And I think largely because of the speed stuff, he hasn't been way better than Coleman, to be clear. Statistically, he's been around a 600-yard wide receiver. He hasn't had his breakout season yet or moment. I tend to wait on – every position's a little different for me. Wide receiver, I tend to give at least year 3 before I start making some decisions on it, and that we're putting some of the foot of the blame on where it is. Last year, it's easy to just blame injuries. Travis Kelce knocked him out for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then after that, he was just never quite the same. And so, I still think there's some hope there, but I thought by now we'd know he was like Jalen Waddle to Tyreek or something, or Devonta Smith was maybe a better example. A guy that I thought, okay, clear number 2. He was just next to A.J. Brown, speedster, can get open, maybe only gets 50 catches a year, but a bunch of them are deep. He can't catch anything deep. And I can't tell. I think it is less likely his fault. Some of it is because he's got some sideline stuff. But the offense's inability to get the ball deep at all. So essentially, he's got a skill set the Chiefs are not or haven't been the last 2 years in line to take advantage of because they've seen the most deep coverage in the NFL over the last 2 years. Now, Kenneth Walker, same thing I mentioned before, that should help it. So there's still a lot of hope for Xavier Worthy in Kansas City.
Bills had that stretch where they went to Kansas City 5 times in a row. That's playoff games, too. But now this will be the 3rd straight regular season where the Chiefs visit Buffalo. What is that, Thanksgiving night, Cody, I think it is? So that'll be pretty good. Okay, Kenneth Walker. So does Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP, signed over from Seattle, To you, does he constitute a philosophical change in the Chiefs' offense?
No, I mean, look, Andy changes, but he doesn't He doesn't like change his whole life. This is what was one of the more interesting things I think about signing him is he has mostly been an under center running back, and the Chiefs primarily don't run under center. So what gives? And I still think it'll be Kenneth Walker adjusting to theirs, largely because that's just how they've done it for a huge majority. But even in the year, Kareem Hunt led the NFL in rushing his rookie season in Kansas City with Andy Reid, with Patrick Mahomes. Now, in a year that Patrick Mahomes also threw for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards, but they didn't run more than the average team. They will still throw in the top 10% in all of the NFL. They will still, I think, run RPOs and run out of center. I think they'll run less of it, and they'll be more reliant on one back. But I actually don't think their run scheme's going to change a ton. I think part of why they wanted Walker, though, is to protect. They might run more early. Like, how about that? For the first 4 weeks, 5 weeks, while Mahomes still gets his feet under him coming back from the surgery, they might run more then. But I think once the season gets up and running, they're going to run their normal offense.
Do you think Mahomes plays week 1? I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
There was a time in which I wasn't, and it isn't when anybody gets hurt, you're just like following every movement. Reportedly dancing up a storm at Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding.
Did you go to that, by the way?
No, I was not invited. I wish. Not invited, Mike, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I think he's playing week 1. There was a time in which I thought it was more 50-50, but there's been literally zero evidence to suggest he won't at this point. We'll be up in training camp in 2 weeks, and I bet he'll be borderline a full participant by the time we show up.
The move is to get invited and then pass, right? Because you're in the media. You're trying to be objective.
Impartial.
Impartial.
That's one of those. I don't even care if I'm impartial or not.
You get the invite. Like, I really can't. Ross Tucker went. I don't know if you know him very well. He's on our show a lot. Played for the Bills.
He comes on our show weekly during the last couple of NFL seasons.
Yeah, same here. And he knows both sides. He's known the Kelceys growing up or like through different camps and whatever. And then, or that's Eric Wood I'm thinking of, actually. But I know Ross is from the same town as Taylor Swift.
Yeah, he's friends with her dad.
He knows her dad. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
He said at a Super Bowl, he approached her, and she's like, I know who you are, or something like that. And I think that made Ross feel really good. So he got to go. The Bills have beaten Kansas City in the regular season 5 years in a row. What in the world can anybody do with that? It's like the best and the worst at the same time. I wonder, Cody, if there's ever been a streak like that, suffered, if you will, quote, suffered by a team that's gone to Super Bowls like the Chiefs have, where there's a team outside of their division that they've lost to 5 years in a row.
The answer is probably not. And I'll be honest, we stopped taking stock in it in Kansas City, like where if the Bills beat them in the regular season, I'd be like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is the first time in years, though, where I actually value some of these matchups as a measuring stick for how quickly Kansas City is going to turn it around. As bad as the season went, I actually, for the first time in a long time, care about a couple of these like heavy hitter regular season matchups as okay, kind of where are you? It doesn't mean they can't lose to the Bills. In Buffalo, there's no shame in that, right? I mean, that's a normal loss.
People do it.
But yeah, all the time. It's not, that's normal. That place will be rocking. On Thanksgiving, it'll be loud. It's not an easy place to play. But it's also like kind of where is their team against those? And we'll have a pretty good idea of kind of where they are because it'll be around Thanksgiving time. But I still view it as like a real test of, is this a team that's going to go back to the playoffs or a team that is immediately back into contending for Super Bowls? And maybe the Bills at some point probably can't care as much about regular season wins against the Chiefs either. Because, and that's the thing that's so crazy about the Bills is they finally didn't have Mahomes, and then Josh Allen had the worst game of his career. And so the timing of it is bad, but it is weird to have a team dominate you like that in the regular season and then not do it in the postseason. And the best I can figure out is in the postseason, Andy Reid had an extra gear that Sean McDermott didn't. I'm not going to put that on Josh Allen. He played great in pretty much every playoff game against the Chiefs, but maybe McDermott didn't or didn't have a unique enough plan, and Andy did.
I have such a tough time trying to build arguments and conversations about what the Bills need to do differently. Like another gear or just even one more play call. I mean, it's that fourth down play 2 years ago, and it's the blitz, the heavy blitz from the one side, and Allen sort of rolls into the pressure heaves it up. Kincaid, I guess, drops it, but still, like, that's a desperation pass. And whether it's a gear or a single moment, it makes it tough to sit here for the next 9 months. Like, no, this is what they need to do. We always, in Buffalo, or at least on this radio station, Cody, like, we're always defaulting to wide receiver. And the Bills have just not had top talent at that position. Not that Kansas City does, if we're just comparing the two teams.
Not in every in some years they have, but they've won a Super Bowl without top talent, in fairness.
Yeah.
They won it where Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore were two of the three top
That's
guys.
right. Their last 2 touchdowns were from those 2 players, if I remember right, in that game. So it's just tough. Like, I mean, Denver, Bulldog's not here to say it, but he's like, if you're big, your season's on the line and your last 2 passes go to McCole Hardman and Brandon Cooks, what are you? And they also, and the Bills also give up 30 points a game in these playoff losses, which brings up conversations about whether, like, defense is the problem, but then, they've got the ball at the end and can't get it done.
It's weird because, like, I view Buffalo and, like, the outsider's perspective, right? And the Kansas City stuff is, again, not really much on Josh Allen. Up until last season, until the game against Denver, all I saw from Josh Allen was a guy who, unfortunately, did not have the ball last enough. Now, a couple of times came up short, but, like, sometimes it's just Mahomes had the ball last and took advantage of it. But the 30 points per game in the playoffs, that's why I think it's a McDermott problem. Not that I think he was a bad coach, but that in those moments in which people change their habits and change their breaks, they went into the playoffs, and this is why it's a bad thing for the window for the Bills. They have a window because Josh Allen, but their best teams are probably behind them. They're going to have to win with a worse one because they entered the playoffs with a top 5 defense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, like 3 or 4 of those years, and then we're bad defensively in the playoffs. You're like, well, then that's planning. There's a talent part in which you can handle it, or your defense got boosted up statistically by playing what was for that time a very laughable AFC East for a bit. But even so, it looked to be a defense that could cause problems with that. But you know what? It's a defense that doesn't have a pass rush. I've had a lot of Chiefs defenses that were good but didn't get to the quarterback. The postseason kind of exposes you sometimes. If you don't have like an elite level pass rusher. They've been begging in the bargain bin for Von Millers of the world, and maybe that's it, but I don't have a clear solution for you other than stinks that you have Josh Allen and a great team in an era in which Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are alive and together. Like, that's maybe the worst thing Buffalo's done.
Do you have another team, before we wrap this up, Cody, in the AFC we haven't talked about that you would rank above the Bills and or the Chiefs as the top team going in?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what it was. It was maybe the least impressive year out of Josh Allen I've seen in a little while, but he was doing it with less, and Mahomes didn't look good. I have a hard time because it's like I lean towards how could there be a team that I definitively like better than them, and yet I think the rosters are better with the Patriots and maybe even with the Broncos, but I don't like them better because the quarterback disparity is so significant to me. I think the best roster, how about this? The best roster in the AFC, if their quarterback is even passably good, is the Texans. That's a team that I think has a chance to get the number 1 seed that isn't those 2 teams or the ones we've already discussed. It is just whether or not C.J. Stroud has any of that rookie year C.J. Stroud in him.
What's your bet? That he does or doesn't?
When Tank Dell got hurt, I think he gets in his head in big moments. I think when something goes wrong in the field, sometimes it's not like a panic, but he shuts down or something. So I feel like there's a part of he just doesn't have it that is the problem. Not that he's not talented, but he's not a cutthroat. And I feel like at quarterback in the NFL, you got to be that.
When he was at Ohio State, the knock on him was, or one at least, I mean, they had such a good team, and he was almost never under duress. But when he was, he got flustered. And not everybody thought he would translate to the NFL because, you can't live like Ohio State in the NFL. You're going to be under pressure a lot. And then he had that rookie year that silenced all of that, but he kind of came back, and in the playoff game against the Patriots, he couldn't hold on to the ball.
Nope. Nope, and that's been a problem for him this entire time. He's been fumbling because their roster is incredible. Their defense should be the best in the league.
Yeah.
But it's just can Stroud hold it together?
Talking to Aaron Schatz recently, he said that they're the number 1 seed for him.
Okay.
But so to your points about what their strengths are. Thank you, Cody. Back.
Of course.
Back to what you were doing before we bugged you. And,
no, just watching Kids in Summer. The normal stuff.
Yes, relatable. Thanks again.
All right, no problem, Mike.
Cody Tapp, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. co-host with Alex Gold. We've got 2-0 Spain in the 63rd minute. So France futures they're not looking great. You got to score 2 goals to tie against the stingiest team in the World Cup, Spain. France has not had good results against Spain. Like, this was a little bit scary, I think. Like, Mr. Soccer, for France fans, like, this has been a tough matchup for them. I mean, Spain is a tough matchup for anybody, probably, but their defense has been worked out against France in the last couple of years, and so far today, no different. What is the Bills' big question this year? I've talked with 3 different people already about this kind of topic throughout the day. 803-0550 if you want to tackle it. Also, Connor Hellebuck. I'm not there yet, but like I said yesterday, we talked about that idea a lot, the possibility of a Sabres trade for the star goalie in Winnipeg, and whether or not you think you want to see him do it, what you'd be willing to pay for it, and has your opinion changed about this idea in the course of time? Mine has. I'm into it now. And I do think there's reason to believe it'll happen. So, but you know that goes. That tends to go with us. We can believe a lot of things and then, they don't happen. But I kind of think this one is realistic. Again, the number, 803-0550. I'm Mike Schopp. This is WGR.
We are well into the second half for our first semifinal game in the World Cup, and Spain seems to be soaring now. They are up 2-0 on France. They also had a third goal ruled out by Lamine Yamal for offsides. For Spain, though, if they can hold on to this, they are looking for their first World Cup final since 2010. That is also the year in which they won their lone World Cup title. And then, while the likelihood is slipping away, France is still looking to make their third straight World Cup final. The other semifinal, that one is tomorrow afternoon, same time, 3 o'clock. Argentina versus England. In baseball, we had the home run derby last night. Tonight, it's the all-star game between the NL and the AL. Dylan Cease of Toronto gets to start on the bump for the AL. For the NL, it's going to be Christopher Sanchez of Philly who gets the go. Game time tonight is at 8 p.m. And we do have a date for when owners are going to be voting on the ownership transaction for the Seattle Seahawks, pending the financial committee review, and that vote date will be Wednesday, August 26th. The group led by Vinod Khosla and are the parties, that are attempting to buy the Seahawks. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Porro, Olmo, the return, Pedro Porro!
John Strong, my favorite. Spain 2, France 0. Oof. It's been a good ride. I'm not officially resigning from this pool, but listen to me. Like, I rationalize every loss, favorite teams, bets, fantasy team. Like, this is why. Of course, this is going to happen. I'm not ready to go that far because France was the favorite, and the game is not over. But to win in Survivor, you play in football Survivor pools maybe, where you've got to pick a winner every week. I mean, you have to dodge a lot of bullets. You have to win, to use another cliche, a lot of coin flips. And there's just no other way to do it. So I've been lucky so far, and maybe it's about to break. Spain 2, France 0. 72nd minute. There you go. There's your soccer update from me, Mr. Soccer. Here's Zach with me. Hi, Zach.
Hey, Mike. Nice talking to you here.
You too. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Try me again. Bad connection. Soccer is the one sport where, more than any other sport, a call gets made by the referee and both teams are mad. You don't really get that in the NFL. A call is made, one team is mad, not two. But so many times you watch a soccer game and there was there's some sort of a collision and call for a free kick, but the team that was, if you will, victimized thinks it should have been a card. So they're mad that it isn't a card. And the first team, the first team is mad that it wasn't a card. The second team is mad that it was anything, that it was even a foul. So you have so many times in a soccer game where the camera goes to the referee and players from both teams are screaming at him. That can't be fun. How do I win here as a ref? If I make a call and both teams are upset, you throw your hands up like I kind of just did. Like what do I do? Baseball. Here's the play at second, safe. Well, the second baseman's mad because he thinks he tagged them. The base runner is not. He's happy with it. And I roll my eyes a lot at these youth games that I go to because people just cannot be objective. Not everybody, but a lot of people just cannot be objective. I was standing next to parents at this last game I was at in Delaware on Saturday, and I've got parents from each team, my son's team and the other, on each side of me. And it's just like absolutely not even flexible in the slightest if there's a call that goes against your kid's team. It's just not even, I don't know, I just can't relate to it. I want my son's team to win. These are my friends. This is my group. But if it's a foul, it's a foul, probably. If it's a slash to the head, it's a slash to the head. Like, we really don't have to try so hard to defend our guys. And if I'm an official, you're not helping because a piece of me wants to turn that back on you on the sideline. If you're going to complain about what I think was an obvious infraction by your team, I would probably have a tough. I mean, I used to be an umpire. I would admit to having a tough time not being biased against the team whose parents are just ragging on me for calls that I know were right. Like, just, you're only saying that because it's your kid. I mean, good for you for being a proud dad, but come on. But soccer, though, these plays, every team, both teams are mad at the ref for the same thing. No other sport maybe has that. I don't know. Steve is here. Hi, Steve.
Hey, how's it going, Schopp? Thank you for your time, sir.
You're welcome.
So I got a question. I've been listening to a lot of Joe's podcast, Locked on Sabres, and
are they good?
I kind of get this. Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right, cool. Good for him.
Yeah. No, and it kind of sparked my mind about how absolutely similar this feels, where the Sabres have all these pieces, and they also lost a lot of key pieces. This is very similar to what happened with the 2016 Bills, 2017, where we had this turnover and everyone's getting traded, and we're wondering, well, okay, we made it back to the playoffs, right? Like, are we actually looking at a 2 to 3 year mini rebuild? And we believe, hey, we still got Tage, we still got Darlene, and we can just sneak into the playoffs here and there. But the goal is to get to that point where you're just an absolute powerhouse. Because you knew the Tuck deadline was coming. You knew the Bo Byram deadline was coming. And here we are. We're sitting here and we're trying to figure it all out. I don't know if I'm sold on this idea, is what I'm getting at, of, yeah, it's Stanley Cup or bust this year and the next year. I feel like it's going to be, we really got to push for the third year from now because of all the young talent we have. What do you think about that?
I don't think in hockey it can really necessarily ever be Stanley Cup or bust. It's too hard. I think in the NFL, by contrast, Steve, I would say NFL, you get to the 1 seed, like you sort of run things in your conference and get to the 1, and then you have 2 home games to win, and then you're there. You're in the championship round. Like 2 home games after a bye, which is a big benefit. 2 home games to win against teams that didn't play as well as you, and then you're there. Hockey is just too hard. It's just I think it's way harder to really think in terms of the Stanley Cup. I mean, think about these great teams. I mean, Colorado this year was for what? 3/4 of the season, 2/3 of the season was all-time good. And the season is so long, and then you get in, and teams you're playing against are not that much worse. They're kind of on your level, and you get a bounce against you, and you're out. So I don't think of the Sabres in terms of Stanley Cup or bust. I think they're in a great spot. I don't think there's really been that much turnover, and I kind of still think there's a big shoe left to drop with them, but I don't have to be right. So what I would want for my team, Bills, Sabres, whoever, is to be set up to be a contender for years to come. And the Bills are that, and the Sabres I think are set up to be that.
I guess it's when Joe says, oh, like, losing Tuck, I would have gone the other way. Like, I was always on the boat of re-signing him because you're basically trying to fill in the gap with 3 other players. It's like, well, you're also playing the game of age, and speed and the lack thereof, the talent that we needed really badly to show up in that last round of the playoffs when Tage was non-existent, because
you needed Tuck to do that. You needed Tuck for that, actually.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. He just disappears, but that's kind of where I have this differentiating view of, okay, like, we just need to completely move on. Obviously, we have no choice, right?
Well, what do you want them to do?
Well, I want the Sabres to just have a convincing 3-year plan. Like, hey, we're going to have all the talent in the world for the next couple of years that we need to develop, and just stay competitive. But in the 3rd or 4th year from now, I mean, see them in the Stanley Cup, but not sneak in, right? Like, we're hitting game 7s or no, like, we need a win series that you're just a convincing playoff contender, kind of like, I hate to use this analogy all the time because, being a Buffalo fan, you're like, oh, let's talk about the Bills too, to give the contrast, but it's like, it really is kind of the same. And that's why everyone's disappointed with how the Bills have turned out. It's because you have all this talent, and you had had plenty of talent to make it to that next step, but they constructed that over a couple of years. And they knew it was going to be 3 to 4 years from when Josh Allen started to pop off that everything was going to start gelling. And I feel like we're in that window, but we still have way more time because hockey is a completely different game.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Thank you, Steve. I am not somebody who feels like you have to ramp up to win. A lot of times teams win and they did not ramp up. And then you have teams in hockey like Carolina that have kind of been about as good for 10 years in a row, and then they got there. That's what you want to have happen with the Bills, is like one of these years it breaks for them. The best you can do, I think, in any sport is to build the foundation and get to the playoffs and take your chances. And you hope for the right matchups. You hope for the bye week. You hope for the bounces. There's only so much of that, though, that you can control. So I don't think of the Sabres as a team that's like, okay, well, maybe this year they can take another step but then lose. I mean, they were in among the final 5 teams playing. Any team in that situation has to be thinking about the top. And I believe that they are. I mean, to say that I need to see that there's a 3 or 4 year plan, first of all, we have no idea that there isn't one. And I mean, there probably are these discussions internally. And I mean, I think it's sort of like, it's kind of self-evident. I mean, you have a Sabres team that's really young or in its prime. Most, if not all, of their key men are now, especially with Tuck gone, are not age. They're not age concerns about them. So you've got a good thing. I think what needs to happen, or we'd want to have happen here before the season starts, is a big fish, is some sort of catch that makes it more believable that they can repeat last year. And then, get to the playoffs and see what happens. I mean, you're playing a 99-point team in the first round, or 100. You're playing a 106-point team in the second round. How much can you expect to necessarily go your way? I mean, even the Boston series was close. So, I don't know. That's all I want to do. I want to be good enough where I can confidently expect to get in. And then after that, hopefully I'm not injured. Hopefully I'm playing a team that doesn't have a hot goalie. I mean, I can't really control that. Football, it's the 1 seed is such a game changer versus hockey. I mean, imagine it would have been Carolina, I guess, in the East, but somehow if the team with the most points in the conference got the first round off. I mean, what an advantage. Rest versus rust. Sure. Let me find out. Give me 2 weeks off before the season. Actually, who was it that actually kind of got that? Was it Carolina? It was Carolina. As the playoffs went on, they crushed Philadelphia in the second round and had to wait around for Montreal Buffalo to get Montreal. And there was like a long break. Well, how did it go? They crushed Montreal too. Like, just, it's different in that way. One thing about it, one of many perhaps that are different in terms of the formats. I think the Sabres are fine. I'd like for them, from 2 standpoints. One, for their outlook as a cup contender, a possible cup winner. And 2, which is not nothing to me, if I were to run the Sabres, this wouldn't be irrelevant, is a star power piece that would further energize an already awakened and excited fan base. And that's Hellebuck. If it's not Dylan Larkin or someone else, I mean, it's Hellebuck for sure. We would argue about if he's too old, but we wouldn't really want to argue about it. We'd kind of want to wrap that up quickly and enjoy one of the absolute rare moments in Buffalo sports history where one of our teams was able to attract a player of his status in the league. And they're not getting him through free agency. I mean, the Sabres, if not also the Bills, are never signing the biggest stars in their sports when they become free agents. This is the only way to do it. You could draft them, but the only way you get a superstar, if you're Buffalo, is to trade for him. And I think that might be possible here, and I've come around to liking the idea. Thank you, Steve. Lines open for you at 803-0550. I'm Mike Schopp. This is WGR. Lame or cool? If your answer is lame, please just don't say it out loud. You know really why? This is the thought process last night. No one is home anyway, so it's not like we could be playing checkers or something. Just me and Margot and Sergeant Peepers, dog, bird, myself. Oh yeah, Home Run Derby. And it's on Netflix, and I have Netflix, which, is the streaming services are bleeding me freaking dry. But there's one sports thing on each one. Peacock for the NFL, right? I don't have Paramount. I need that for UFC, which I don't care at all about. So not that. Apple has baseball. Prime has NFL and baseball. There's always an excuse. So I have Netflix, which I watch. I mean, I like The Traitors. I don't need that in my life, but I have Netflix. So, that's Peacock. Never mind. That's not even Netflix. Anyway, 7 letters. Anyway, so I've got Netflix. I might as well turn on Home Run Derby, and I do. And the first batter is Wilson Contreras, who's hitting home run after home run. And I'm like, I'm not interested in this at all. I know that I have Netflix. I'm paying for the right to watch the Home Run Derby, but I just am so bored with it. Sports needs strategy. Sports needs decisions. And if it's just like, let me see if I can hit this ball. Maybe if my kid is in it, I would care. But just whatever. What's pitching if you're just trying to throw a home run ball? Doesn't need to be explained. I just find it super boring. It's why anything like the Pro Bowl games will never interest me. Because it's just, like a track meter. It's like a version of the decathlon. Let's see who can throw the ball the farthest. Who cares? I need there to be a pass rush if you're going to throw the ball. I need coverage. It's like bowling. Let me see how many pins I can knock down. Oh, well, good for you. There's got to be some strategy in it to make it interesting. And that's just me. The All-Star game, let me think about it. Because there at least will be some strategy, intent to win in that. We'll be right back.
Semifinal of the World Cup is in the books, and it is Spain who is advancing to the final after taking down France 2-0. For Spain, this is their first World Cup final since their title-winning year in 2010, and they will take on the winner of Argentina and England. That game tomorrow. The final will be on Sunday. Home Run Derby was last night. Tonight we have the All-Star game between the NL and the AL. Dylan Cease of Toronto gets started on the bump for the AL. For the NL, it's going to be Christopher Sanchez of Philly who gets the go. Game time tonight is at 8 o'clock. To the Bills, they did make a small roster move today, claiming wide receiver Quentin Skinner off of waivers from the Jets. And in a corresponding move, the Bills have released wide receiver Devin Tompkins. And then we do have a date for when the owners are going to be voting on the ownership transaction for the Seattle Seahawks, pending, of course, the financial committee review. That vote date will be Wednesday, August 26th, and the group is led by Vinod Khosla. They are the party attempting to buy the Seahawks. That is your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Mike Schopp.
Hey, put a little. I never get this line out the first time. It's not even good. Hey, put a little bit more in there, cowboy.
And the Bulldog.
What's your degree in?
Kicking ass and taking names.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Thinking about a couple of topics that have come up throughout the afternoon. Talking with Sal earlier. What will be the Bills' big question? So if you were to open up an article that was every team's big question, what does this team have to answer, figure out to be better in 2026? What would be the Bills' big question? And, not surprisingly for anybody to say this, Sal went right to the coaching changes. And you tell me if you want. I mean, I'm not calling you, so you have to want to do it. But is there enthusiasm about Joe Brady in this new role? Everybody's got a podcast. Somebody calls up and talks about Joe's hockey podcast, and Sal's got his own podcast. And, well, it's not mine, but I'm on it. ADP Chasing Tonight. And when we talk about the Bills, I don't get the sense that there's I don't know how much, let me put it this way. I don't know how much there is to say about the coaching change when it pertains to their offense. I think you have to decide for yourself whether you think, and people that are more in the know tend to say yes to this, whether you think Brady didn't really run the offense he wanted, or at least to the extent that he wanted. Every new coach talks about being more aggressive, and Brady is no exception to that. And that goes in one ear and out the other for me. I'll say it yet again. Find me the coach who one time said he wanted his team to be less aggressive. It's never happened in the history of sports. Aggressive sounds good. What is aggressive? Is that passing more? Is that flea flickers? Is that going on 4th and 6? What do you mean? 3 and 4 wide receiver sets? I don't know. It would surprise me if the Bills rolled out this year with an offense that did that. They don't have the players to be a team that, in that one example, they don't have the players to be a team that can roll out 4 wide receivers. Even if you include Kincaid as one of them, which I think you should. He plays a wide receiver role on this team. He is a part-time slot receiver who can't be more full-time for 2 reasons. 1, Shakir exists, and 2, his knees. So, I don't know, he's not useless, but it's not something you can really count on. What does it mean? What does it mean to be more aggressive? I bet I could find, whether it's Brady or Sean McDermott, the last 2 off seasons before this one, clips of their talking about being more aggressive. I don't know. I don't want to assume that. The offense and the team have been very successful. There might not have been a lot of times where they were talking about being that different. but it's never the other way around. It's always aggressive. Aggressive is better. How does it happen that 32 teams times 2, offense and then defense, 64 play callers, offense and defense, want to all be more aggressive? How is the sport not blown up at this point? Are they actually doing that? I mean, McDermott on defense, I wouldn't really describe as aggressive. It was calculated, and it was very effective. And I always stuck up for that they were good at what it meant the most to be good at, which is defending the pass. This Bills defense has not always been great against the run. I think they got a little bit too much of a hard time for how bad they were or whatever last year, but they did, it shows in their record. They did what was most important. They were able to defend against the pass. There's some transition in the secondary this year. I don't know. Like, it probably is the right answer. What will be their big question? But again, I kind of wonder on offense what or how much different it will be. Except for DJ Moore, you have the same team. You're adding DJ Moore. You're replacing who? Brandon Cooks with DJ Moore, I guess, or even Coleman eventually. And that's another one. Not that we haven't talked about Keon Coleman enough times, but when I say something about how the fans feel, you, the fans, should feel like you want to raise your hand and, maybe correct me if you think I'm wrong. And I'm always asking for that. I said to our guest from Kansas City, we were talking about Xavier Worthy, who the Chiefs traded up with the Bills for, and the Bills eventually traded down twice, once and then another time, to get to Keon Coleman at the beginning of round 2, as you probably remember. And I just, in passing, when setting up a question about Worthy, said, I think Bills fans have pretty much written off Coleman. And that's not going to be everybody, and maybe you would take exception to that. And I go on these podcasts like tonight where we talk about fantasy, and Coleman is, I think, to the fantasy community, completely irrelevant. Often in best ball drafts, he doesn't get picked at all. And if you use the logic that we've used for DJ Moore this offseason, or certainly Dalton Kincaid in his career, well, he might be Josh Allen's top weapon, then how does that leave? Do we really want to leave Coleman completely ostracized from, consideration here as a weapon in the Bills offense? So maybe Joe Brady is the big question, or even Jim Leonard. I don't know. A defensive coordinator, it doesn't really, I know it's going to be different, and there's going to be a lot of nuance to that, and we'll talk about it as we go. But I have a tough time thinking that play calling and scheme on defense is really going to be the big thing that affects this season. Maybe there's a lot of new pieces, but I don't know. You've heard me say it. Maybe I said it to Cody Tapp as well in an earlier conversation today. I have a tough time kind of structuring an argument that something they've done or haven't done this offseason is really going to swing how it ends. It's going to determine how the season ends. I can't really get there. Good or bad. I mean, I guess if you have a healthy Josh Allen season at age 30, you'd better make the playoffs at least. Like that, I don't want to set the floor below the playoffs, assuming Allen is healthy. Like that to me seems a little bit much. But what am I trying to do? Analyzing the Bills, or if I'm Brandon Beane, building the roster that for me is going to be the difference between advancing to a Super Bowl and even winning one and not, and what's happened before. These playoff losses, with the exception of, I guess maybe the Bengals one, although that game was competitive. I mean, the Bengals, by the fourth quarter, it was their game, but at least, I mean, in the third quarter of that game, it was live. I mean, the Bills were not just blown out or anything like that. For the most part, these games have been right there. Kansas City, 13 seconds. The AFC Championship 2 years ago. Denver. For the most part, these games have been like a play or two away. And How do the Bills, do you know? If you know, you should tell us, because we all need to know this, and I don't know the answer. How should the Bills expect to remedy that? How can they really do that? And I don't feel like maybe we've really gotten too deeply into this. We had the Sabres, and then we have vacations, and now it's coming, though. Sean McDermott is gone. Is that going to help them, as harsh as that might sound, in those situations? 13 seconds, whatever you think about what happened, how the Denver game ended. You know, at times, whether it's a play call idea that didn't come, that Kansas City did and made the difference for them, was there something that the Bills didn't think of or couldn't execute late in these games? I guess, you know, some people are going to say, I know some fans are going to say, and have said for years even, that McDermott is what has cost them at the end of these important moments. And that's even in the regular season, too. What have we said for a few years? Can the Bills please one of these times actually win the game of the year instead of lose it? Every year it seemed like they were in the best game of the regular season in the league, or even the playoffs in terms of 13 seconds probably, and lost. And, you know, coaching, especially if it happens repeatedly, coaching has to be at least mentioned in the course of that. So how do you feel as it gets closer? What are we? 2 months almost to the day from the season opener at Houston? Might even be, was it maybe the 13th? Today is July 14th. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But we're inching closer to finding out how life will be different around here after 9 years of Sean McDermott. 803-0550 for your calls. Maybe you were somebody or are somebody that were ready for him to go. And, you know, possibly, I'm sure there are lots of people who are maybe a little bit unsettled about it. I guess, what about all the culture stuff? Does pivoting to your offensive coordinator, who's been on the staff for years now, affect an area where the Bills actually gave themselves a lot of credit and got a lot of credit? I mean, culture is everybody's favorite word when it comes to a coaching change and how the future will be different. I'm not sure how different I should expect it to be. Brady is not McDermott. And we'll get a better feel for him, of course, as we go through the offseason. I mean, my feel for him has, other than like his results, a lot of what I take my cues from are the words, are the press conferences. And that doesn't mean if you're good at the press conference that you'll be a good coach, or bad, or, you know, bad and bad. It doesn't have to correlate. But I've found, as I've said before, with Brady, he's not really a risk taker with the media. Like, if you ask him a question, he'll kind of give you every possible answer to it at once and just kind of rip through it. And that doesn't always leave you with a clear idea of what he's thinking, which is probably the point. That's probably how you want it if you're a coach. Just keep him guessing and not really, you don't that way end up exposing anybody or blaming anybody, which is what you really want to avoid. So I guess maybe Brady is the answer to this. But if they're going to talk about being more aggressive, the only thing I can take that as is that Josh Allen is going to throw the ball more, which I don't hate. I just wonder, I think it might be a be careful what you wish for thing with that. They have been, and I don't even know that I should expect it. I mean, they have been so successful with Cook, and then Allen is almost a compliment to Cook these last 2 years. I mean, not exactly, but you know, Cook has been the, let me think. Allen is the MVP. Cook was the rushing leader in the league, and before that led the league in touchdowns, or shared in the league lead in touchdowns. He has been a big, needless to say, he has been a big part of what they do and what they are on offense. At his age, he's got the contract. He's had these last 2 years. Do you really think that they're going to curtail James Cook? I mean, Sal kind of thinks they will to a point. I think he said that in terms of workload. But it's been so successful, and it's not the kind of thing that, any kind of philosophical shift in this way necessarily determines what happens in the playoffs. I mean, the playoffs are one game at a time. And in a certain matchup, you do what you need to do. But to try to get through the season, why would they, for the most part, the very most part, why would they not want to be the team they've been on offense? And you've got a coach, even though he's the head coach now, who has been calling the shots for 2 years on that offense. I don't really, when we talk about it in fantasy terms, we don't really use the Bills as an example of how things could be different. It's a popular and interesting topic in football and in fantasy football is, all right, well, here are 12 or so, however many it is this year, changes around the NFL with play callers or coaches. And what will this mean to certain players? Like you look, where was this coach last and what kind of, scheme did he run to pass, depth of target, all these kind of different topics, and what does that mean for their players? The Bills are not changing in this way at all. You can use, well, I shouldn't say that. You can use Pete Carmichael, as we've talked about here briefly for a couple of days with Sal on, as a, that's a change to their offense, and what kind of change might that be manifestly to how they play. And one point that has come up in my conversations with Sal is maybe you get more targets for Cook. And I just don't think, I don't think I want that. I mean, fantasy is one thing, but for the Bills offense, what we all, not all, but what I think the chorus of frustration around wide receiver is built on, can we get weapons that are credible enough where I can have Allen be at his peak, the height of his powers, where down the field, I'm just shredding you. This was, what was the closest the Bills ever came to this? Diggs and Davis, or Diggs and Brown and Beasley, where they had, Diggs was elite. So you had that to start with, and then you could fill in around him. And they were good. They were fine underneath Diggs. When you have a player that's so capable, you can, thrive. And they did. Now they're struggling to find a number one. Their number one guy for 2 years has been Shakir, who, it's only short passes. It's all run after the catch, if that. And I just don't think that that's ideal. And I think you agree. I think most people would agree that if Warren Sharp comes on WGR like he did a couple of weeks ago to report that for a number one receiver on a team, especially a team as good as the Bills, to have such low yards per target, depth of passes as Shakir, what did Warren say? It's like the lowest in the NFL in 25 years or something like that. I want to say 528th out of 528 for the depth of target for your number one guy. And some of that is not an accident. Some of that is trading Diggs in the first place, which, that was complicated. There were different reasons for doing that. But trading him in the first place intentionally made the Bills' offense it closed the walls in on them a little bit. Unless they were going to replace him with Odell Beckham at the time or somebody else who could take the top off, as they say, that never came. That never happened. So you've got Shakir, who, and then he got his contract too, so there's an investment in him. Shakir is that guy, and I don't know. Nobody ever seems to push back at me on this. I've never been fully warm to Shakir, which is not his fault. It's just because I think his being a cog in their offense kind of holds them back. Whereas if you had, you can't just have Amon-Ra St. Brown or CeeDee Lamb or one of these slot guys that just, the game has changed in this way, where you have slot receivers who are number ones and elite players in their offense. Their offense would be really injured without them. You can't just have that. The Bills have Shakir instead, and he just does not have the ability. He's not the player that those guys are, where you can, really get the ball down the field to him on any given play. It's got to happen on a screen. It's got bubble screens, which everybody hates. It's got to happen on one of these kind of plays. So there's something to talk about. Like, what will be, as we get closer to camp, like 2 weeks away, and people start to write about this kind of stuff for every team, it's always Bill Barnwell in my head. Maybe he's already written it. I don't know. But what would be the big question for the Bills? They went back into waivers today for another receiver whose name I've never heard, I think. I mean, not even on ADP chasing do I believe this name has been mentioned. Maybe tonight, on the occasion of his being signed to the Bills roster. Quentin Skinner from the Jets, and the Bills released Devin Tompkins, I think it is, or Tompkins, from their roster to make room for Quentin Skinner. So I guess we need to get to work on him. It is list season in football, which I hate and couldn't possibly have any use for. These lists are so bad. The thing that you don't know, or you might know, I feel like I know, that might be counterintuitive. You know it's a bad list when the players make it. Because the players are not the right people for listing, who's good and who's not, who are the top 100 players in the league. Maybe not the last. Maybe people who've never watched an NFL game would be worse than NFL players at ranking each other. But no, all-star games, NFL top 100, anything of the sort, the last people you want for a good outcome, for like a fair outcome, is players. Too much politics, during the season anyway, too immersed in their own game plans and their own work to really know anything past maybe a random highlight show that they might come across or something on Twitter to tell them who's good. They know each other. They know who's supposed to be good. They can read stats just like you and I, but they're not to be trusted when it comes to ranking. For as easy as it is to pick on the media would be a much better, and many of these lists are media generated, but not all of them. They'd be a much better resource for objectively ranking players than the players themselves. Lamar Jackson is the one now. I hate to even indulge in this, but I've been talking to myself for 20 minutes, and maybe this is just what's on my mind now. I hate to even honor it. The 69th best player in the NFL, at the most important position with 2 MVP awards, in his prime, what is he, 29, 30 years old? Like, that makes sense. There's got to be some linebackers I can rank above Lamar Jackson. I'm done. And we should have been done years ago arguing about whether Lamar Jackson is actually great. I mean, that has been asked and answered for a long time. And any further conversation about that is completely wasted energy. I mean, I think there is, at the risk of, I as his constant apologist or defender, I think there is he is in an interesting moment in his career, as is Allen, but I think in a greater way, Jackson. In really where, unlike Allen, Jackson has flopped in the postseason. I mean, not in every situation. He's had wins and he's had his moments. But this is really where I think Lamar Jackson has the potential to be a player that really does wear the label of a playoff, a choker. Is that going too far? I mean, I think he does in a way that Allen doesn't. Allen still has to win it to shake any sort of questions about him in the postseason. But Jackson, I think, to a greater extent. So I think that is interesting to try to figure out, like whether or not that can be done with Allen too. I mean, what did Cody Tapp say joining me last hour about Allen in reference to the Denver game, like worst game of his career? I mean, it definitely wasn't the worst game of his career, but the turnovers were the story that day. And, you still, of course, lost only in overtime. That's sort of what we're used to having happen. So I don't want to, there's no point in opening the case on Lamar Jackson's greatness, but Allen and Jackson and I'm sure Burrow, I mean, there are Dak Prescott, I think maybe quintessentially quarterbacks who've been elite or close to it that don't have, other than Burrow, a single Super Bowl appearance yet. Now you've got Darnold winning. I mean, that's really interesting and significant in the discourse. Just like, all right, well, another year went by. Especially this is the Allen point, if not also Jackson. Although he was hurt, he came back. They had the lead there late in Pittsburgh. They missed the field goal in the rout. Just they didn't get a cushion. He would have been healthy for the playoffs, but still, like his injury really damaged their season. Just to see a year, as we've all talked about and recognized, where you don't have Mahomes in the playoffs, and in Allen's case, doesn't have Jackson either, for what that's worth, and still to fall short, it really hurts. 803-0550 for your calls. I'm Mike Schopp. I need a hydration break. We have that now. So we have breaks anyway, so I don't need to get cute. Bulldog is off this week. This is WGR.
Their ticket to the World Cup final. They take down France 2-0. And this is Spain's first World Cup final since 2010, where they did win their lone title there. And on Sunday, they will face the winner of Argentina and England. That game is tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Something to keep an eye on, though. If England is to win that matchup tomorrow, it will be a rematch of Spain and England for the 2024 European Championship. The last two major finals that either team took place in. Spain did win that one, though, by a score of 2-1. In baseball, home run derby last night. Tonight, it is the All-Star game. Dylan Cease of Toronto gets the start on the bump for the AL, while for the NL, it's going to be Christopher Sanchez of Philadelphia who gets the go. Game time tonight for that one is at 8 p.m. And then the Bills. They did make a small roster move today, claiming wide receiver Quentin Skinner off of waivers from the Jets, and in a corresponding move, the team has released wide receiver Devin Tompkins. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
If your life was on the line and you needed one quarterback to win the game for you at the end, and I gave you Patrick Mahomes on one side and Josh Allen on the other, who are you taking? Be honest. Even if you hate the Chiefs, even if you hate Patrick Mahomes, in the same way that you hated Tom Brady and you hated the New England Patriots. I get it. You're tired of Kansas City. You reveled in the Chiefs' misery last year. I understand. It all makes sense. But you can't say that Mahomes is not the best.
Nick Costos. He's been heard. Okay, great. Mike Schopp here, 803-0550 is the number. You know how insufferable these quarterback ranking conversations can be. Maybe you don't think so. I don't hate Kansas City. I go as hard as I possibly can to avoid listening to that. No matter which side somebody's on, it just rots my brain. You know how insufferable it can be. But in the real world, Allen does have to live with that until he wins. Maybe he has to win too. I don't know. Peyton Manning, I would say Peyton Manning got that kind of legacy off his back when he won the second one with Denver. Maybe if not the first one with Indianapolis. At least the first one gets you free and clear from never done it. But you win two. How much can be said about your inability to win championships? I think Peyton Manning decidedly was the best quarterback to ever play. And, you know, if you don't win Super Bowls, you don't have, here's Nick making a point in a vacuum. Who else is on the team, Nick? Who are we playing against? I mean, he wouldn't care because it's an easy scoreboard call. Mahomes has 3, and he's been to 5, right? And Allen has yet to been to any, yet to go to any. But I think I think the greats win 2. The greatest of the greats win at least 2. I remember reading the late John Feinstein's book called The Majors about golf. He wrote lots of books, and I really enjoyed that. And I think maybe it's like right at the beginning of that book, if I remember right, it's about how lots of relatively anonymous golfers have won a major. But maybe it's like within the ropes, the thinking is like, you got to win 2. Then you're special. I feel like that's right. That there's some merit to that. Well, as far as Allen is concerned, let's get 1. And Jackson and Burrow and Prescott and whoever else, Brock Purdy, whoever else needs to be included in that. Good to great quarterbacks. I mean, Purdy's not great, I don't think, but he's good. You know, guys that have come close. All the legacy talk, it'll never change. It's what gets sports talk through the summer, I guess, is, you know what? Let's just rank some stuff. I'm not above it. We rank stuff. We just did reverse AFC power rankings today. I can't claim that I'm too good for it. We did it. Here's Larry next. Hi, Larry.
Mike, I don't know how anyone could be excited about Joe Brady. And I'm not just trying to be overly negative, but this offseason has been so uninspiring. We're really going to hang our head on C.J. Gardner-Johnson at safety. He's going to be off the team by probably week 8. Bradley Chubb is going to be hurt by week 4. DJ Moore is a fine player. I'm not trying to diss him, but I'm not excited about that signing at all. I mean, really, I think the best we got to hope for is that Skylar Bell is incredible. And the thing that really upset me about Brady, and I get that this is just coach speak, but tripling down on Keon. Dude, how out of touch are you with the fan base? Keon, like you said last segment, is an afterthought right now. And Joe Brady's talking about how he's got high hopes for him, and this, is going to be a good offseason. They said the same thing last offseason. Last year was a complete disaster. I just cannot believe the inattentiveness to the roster, particularly the receiver room, that Bean keeps showing, and I can't get excited about Brady. No way.
Okay, well, the Coleman point definitely is, I can't say definitely, like he doesn't mean it. It's, of course, what a coach would say. It's not, we learned in this, on the same player's example, we learned, I guess it's not necessarily what the owner would say. That was what really was incredible, was when Terry Pagula jumped in on Bean at the press conference that time and said, listen, it was the coach's idea. Like, what a terrible instinct that was. Who are you making to look good by saying that? You've cut Bean's legs out. Like, he doesn't even get to pick the players in that case. You're embarrassing a player who was still on your own team. I don't know. Like, that was just such a terrible instinct. As much as I want, whenever I sort of make the call for more honesty in these press conferences, often a fan will come back at me with like, well, what do you expect them to say? Like, I know, but it doesn't mean I can't want it. And I think there are ways, as a professional communicator, I'm going to say, I think there are ways you can do that diplomatically if you're smart enough and figure out how not to embarrass anybody, but also kind of be real. And Bean happens to be somebody that does impress me in that way, but that's not what you called about. Your bottom line is, how can you be excited about Brady? What's the answer to that? How? Well, they've had a high-ranking offense. They've won tons of games, and he's been the play caller. So I guess that's how you could do it. The thing about, I haven't thought about this in a long time, but the thing about the choice of Brady that was really, I would say, kind of weird is that McDermott was fired in the name of change, and then you promoted from within. That really doesn't wash, Like, what if you want change, then go get it. And it was perfectly reasonable to want that. These things do run their course. The playoff wall, or however Pagula put it, when they talked about McDermott being let go. I mean, that happens in sports. And each year, naturally, each year that goes by, when you fall short, more people are ready for it. And 9 years, all those playoff close calls and losses, now you're losing to Bo Nix. Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't think it was incredible that they made a coaching change, but they did it in the name of change. Like it's time. It's been long enough. We've been close but lost. And you promoted your offensive coordinator, and for that matter, you promoted your GM. Well, I don't know. That seems a little bit like throwing stuff at the wall. And hiring Brady was easier. There are certain moments over the years where big news drops and you remember where you were. I mean, of course, like big news, that's easy. You don't even have to think about it. Whatever, I don't know. Natural disasters or, something on a much higher level. But I can remember where I was in my car. I was in Canada. Maybe I was working that day or maybe I was off, but it was like around noon. I think it was probably, I don't know. Doesn't matter. It was around noon. And, I think I was going to Toronto. Anyway, noon on a given day, it's announced that the Bills have hired Joe Brady. And I couldn't believe it. I think we were all sort of led to believe that they were going to go outside, that was the reason for the change. There was a guy in Jacksonville. There was a guy with the Rams, younger offensive assistants who were in the conversation. Then there were some older retread types that we heard about. But I don't know. Like, to me, it was never going to be Brady because of what the original move was described as. And then it was. So I don't think it's impossible to be optimistic for him. And, Bulldog often says, and he's not here to say it, but I'll try to represent him, what we don't know about Brady yet. Nobody knows this. The Bills don't know this. He's never been a head coach, right? So what we don't know about him is his touch with players. Can he avoid the potholes with the media and, any sort of internal stuff that can distract a coach or can become a problem from within? And that's really, he's young. He's been at it for long enough where he's done tons of press conferences. He's not brand new to that, but he's never been the leader. And now he's going to have to take questions on why the Bills can't get sacks or how they've dipped to 20th in pass coverage or something like that. And, it doesn't define a coach and their ability to do the job, but it's almost the best we've got, listening to his explanations for things and trying to figure out how good a handle he has on the operation and whether it's good enough. I think you can be optimistic. I thought it was weird, and it's not what I would have done. I think if you have Allen, most 95% of people would say the same thing. If you have Allen, you're going to be fine. If he's healthy, you're going to be fine. So it could have been someone else. It isn't someone else, and it's Brady, and that means still I think they're probably going to be fine. But it's in the key moments against the best teams in the playoffs when the pressure is at its greatest. Can you come up with the goods? And that's Allen, too. He's not absolved from any sort of role in that. He's the quarterback. But can the coach come up with the play call, the idea? And that is what the Bills have not been able to do. Not every one of these playoff losses have they had 5 turnovers. But in those key moments, Allen included, they've just not executed. I think Allen is the one to blame for the end of the game they lost to Kansas City at home in the playoffs. Because as I've said then, and I've always thought, he just didn't make the right decision on that second down play where he had Diggs crossing underneath, and instead he went to the end zone. It didn't hit. Third down, didn't hit. Pass pressure, and then they missed the field goal and lost. That's one where I think, not to rehash this and try to get everybody back to remember every detail from that, but the clock was really their friend. They didn't use it. They just wasted it and ended up missing the kick, which I'm sure they were not planning on still. So I think Allen's a part of that. Coaching is a part of that. Even the head coach, 13 seconds quintessentially is a part of that. Will they get that right this time? It's not like they can't. But to keep it the same up top when you made the coaching change for change's sake just really didn't line up great, I think. Been a long time since I've thought about that. But, time to brush up. We can't just talk about World Cup for very much longer. It's almost over. There's only 2 games left. Well, technically 3. They do have a third-place game. So France, you can't go home yet. France gets tomorrow's loser. I think in, dare I say it, Foxborough. Not Boston. But I think that's where the third-place game, the final's in New York. Oh, wait, sorry, New Jersey. Is anything really to be believed anymore? There is a third-place game, so there's 3 games left. Tomorrow, England, Argentina. Winner gets Spain. Spain beat France today 2-0. 803-0550. Thank you, Larry. I'm Mike Schopp. Bulldog is off this week. You are listening to WGR. Need to tap in on ADP Chasing tonight on YouTube, weekly fantasy football podcast that I am on with Pat Corraine, Jacob Sanderson, and Davis Maddock. Davis is on vacation this week, just to give you a heads up. And instead of Davis, we'll have Matt Harmon tonight. Reception Perception's own Matt Harmon. I'm excited about that. Have a lot of respect for Matt. Not just because of what he knows, but he's another guy who said, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. And then just went and built his own brand, and he is widely respected. So his game is wide receivers. And, I mean, no one better. Will he know, let's just throw this out there, with all the respect I have for Matt, will he know who Quentin Skinner is? I'm sure we won't spend a lot of time on Quentin Skinner, the Bills' addition today, late of the Jets. But if anybody will know, it's probably Matt. These guys that I work with, they're machines. Like, they know, not only do they know prospects up and down, I mean, undrafted free agents who might be 7th on somebody's depth chart, somebody in that room is going to have a take on them. And whether or not there's a sliver of light, a chance that the player will end up making a roster and then even helping your fantasy team. That's really the point of it all. Quentin Skinner, another name on the pile for the Bills over the years. They can't, what's the phrase? Win for trying? I mean, on one hand, the Bills have not been able to bring in good enough talent at that position so that it's not a liability in the end. I mean, that's maybe even a nice way to put it. On the other, it's not like they just sleep through the summers. I mean, for a few years, they have made lots of different changes, and tough for a guy like this Tompkins. What's he doing today? Probably getting ready for training camp a couple of weeks away. Maybe he's spending his last free time, with his family or having some free time to himself. And then he gets the call, you've been cut. Not what you expect 2 weeks before camp necessarily. He's neither a guy, obviously, that everybody would have known. It's not shocking when something like this happens, but just kind of maybe a little bit out of nowhere. I don't know. I wonder. So Matt Harmon tonight on ADP Chasing. We go at 7:30. Quick turnaround from this show to that one. Go for about an hour and a half. And not only will they bombard you with takes on players and their average draft position in fantasy football, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, but they will also befuddle you with takes on politics and Pokemon and who knows what else. These guys are often way over my head with their references, and I just let them because I just work there. Like, I don't want to embarrass myself and be like, I don't know what that is. Sometimes I will. We had a conversation about The Sopranos recently. I'm like, I've never seen The Sopranos. And they were all like, how in the world could you have never seen The Sopranos? You didn't have HBO. Like, no, I did have HBO. But sometimes, and at least Davis had my back, sometimes a show starts and gets popular and you feel like you're too late to it. Now that's different maybe when you can sort of binge watch anything, which wasn't quite the case when The Sopranos were on. But yeah, like, it's your thing. You like it, you go. I'm doing other things, and then the show goes on for 8 years or whatever and becomes iconic, and you miss the whole thing. Now I feel like that's too long ago for me to go back and watch The Sopranos, but maybe not. The All-Star game tonight, ADP Chasing tonight. Next, my chat with Sal Capaccio here on WGR.